from the heart of Delta State. You are tuned in to Srtv Asaba.
And welcome to Srtv Morning News, reaching you live from our studios in Asaba. It's Tuesday the 11th, and I'm Obama Gabriel Joy. Thank you so much for joining us this morning as we bring you the major stories making headlines across Nigeria and beyond. Ahead of Saturday's Osun State governorship election, sensitive electoral materials have arrived in Osogbo, with the Independent National Electoral Commission preparing to draw ad hoc personnel from a pool of more than 30,000 NYSC members. Also this morning, opposition parties begin talks on greater cooperation and a possible single candidate ahead of the 2027 general elections, while a controversial statement by an Islamic cleric during a campaign for a Muslim presidential ticket has sparked widespread condemnation. 7 states and the Federal Capital Territory have increased their domestic debt by over 355 billion naira in just 3 months, despite increased allocations from the federal account. In security, 23 foreign nationals have been arrested in Ogun State over an alleged Ponzi scheme and visa scam, while the police have also arrested a suspected fake pastor accused of defrauding fellowship members of 2.5 million naira. In sports, stakeholders remain divided over calls to suspend the Nigerian Football Federation elections following Nigeria's recent setbacks in international football. And in entertainment, the long-awaited trial of a former gang leader accused of orchestrating the murder of legendary rapper Tupac Shakur has begun 30 years after his death. We also have developments from Anambra, the United States, and more stories from the world of entertainment. Those are the headlines. Now the news in detail. Sensitive election materials have arrived in Osogbo ahead of Saturday's Osun State governorship election. The Independent National Electoral Commission says it will draw ad hoc personnel from a pool of more than 30,000 members of the National Youth Service Corps for the election. INEC's Chief Press Secretary Adedayo Oketola disclosed this while giving an update on preparations for the August 15 poll. He said the commission could not yet provide the exact number of ad hoc personnel to be deployed, but confirmed that it would select from the available pool of more than 30,000 NYSC members. INEC says 233,233 voters, are registered in Osun State. The commission also confirmed that sensitive materials are already in the state and securely warehoused at the Central Bank of Nigeria. The materials, including ballot papers and BVS machines, are expected to be moved from the CBN to local government offices on Friday before they are distributed to registration area centers. Meanwhile, 25,310 security personnel from the Nigerian Police Force, Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission have been deployed across the state. INEC says preparations remain on course for Saturday's election. And while political parties intensify their campaigns in Osun, opposition parties are already looking beyond the immediate election, with 2027 increasingly becoming the center of political discussions. A coalition of opposition political parties and stakeholders under the G100 platform is set to hold a summit in Abuja on August 18th. The summit is part of efforts to bring opposition parties together ahead of the 2027 general elections. The group has already held consultations with leaders of 6 opposition parties, including the ADC, APM, NDC, the People's Democratic Party, which is the PDP, the PRP, and the Social Democratic Party. According to the G100, the consultations to produce a common understanding that opposition parties need to work more closely together. The group says discussions will focus on creating a credible alternative to the ruling party and possibly presenting a single candidate for the 2027 presidential election. However, the coalition acknowledged that such an arrangement will require sacrifice, compromise, and political leaders putting national interests ahead of individual ambitions. The August 18th summit is expected to begin discussions on how such operation or cooperation would work. The move comes amid growing efforts by opposition figures to build a broad political coalition ahead of 2027. But while opposition parties are working towards political cooperation, a religious controversy is threatening to add a new dimension to the political conversation. An Islamic cleric, Sheikh Sani Jinge, has come under criticism. Apologies for that pronunciation. He has come under criticism after describing Christians as infidels while canvassing support for a Muslim presidential ticket ahead of the 2027 elections. He made the remarks at a political gathering organized by the Sunnah in Kano. He renewed his support for a Muslim ticket and praised President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for adopting the arrangement in the 2023 presidential election. The cleric called on Muslims to unite politically and use their numerical strength before describing Christians as infidels. The remarks have since attracted condemnation from several quarters. Former Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso and the people of Kano do not support such divisive comments. Northern Christian Association Chairman Reverend Joseph Hayab also condemned the statement, saying political mobilization should not become an avenue for religious insults. Human rights lawyer Deji Adeyanju similarly described the remarks as divisive and warned that rhetoric that pits Christians against Muslims could deepen existing tensions. The controversy comes as political parties and politicians began positioning themselves ahead of the 2027 general elections. Still on the Osun election, prominent opposition figures have also been campaigning for their preferred candidates. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, ADC National Chairman David Mark, and former Osun Governor Rauf Aregbesola have urged voters in Osun State to support the party's governorship candidate Najim Salam. The party held its grand rally at Nelson Mandela Freedom Park in Osogbo on Monday. Atiku told supporters that he had a long political relationship with the people of Osun and urged them to vote for the ADC candidate. David Mark called on voters to come out in large numbers and protect their votes, warning against electoral manipulation. Aregbesola, meanwhile, said the ADC represents what he described as the ideals of late Western Region Premier Obafemi Awolowo. He promised that an ADC government would prioritize education, healthcare, agriculture, youth empowerment, and social welfare. He also dismissed reports that the ADC was planning an alliance with another political party ahead of the election. But despite the ADC's campaign for its candidate, one of its own prominent members has declared support for the incumbent governor. ADC chieftain Dele Momodu says he is backing Governor Ademola Adeleke of the Accord Party for a second term in Osun State. Momodu says his decision is based on his belief that opposition parties should put aside personal interests and unite against the APC. He explained that he joined the ADC because of the broader opposition coalition that was expected to challenge the ruling party. However, he said that coalition did not develop exactly as he hoped. Momodu maintained that he remains a member of the ADC but believes Adeleke should receive the support of opposition figures in the state. Away from politics, law enforcement agencies across the country continue to intensify their fight against fraud and other criminal activities. The Ogun State Police Command has arrested 23 foreign nationals over alleged involvement in a Ponzi scheme, visa scam, and other migration-related offenses. The suspects were arrested at a gated residential building in the Onikmanwater area following intelligence about suspected fraudulent activities. Police said one Malian international passport bearing the name Diakite Alfosaini was recovered. Following preliminary investigation, 21 of the suspects were handed over to the Nigerian Immigration Service for further investigation. 2 others remain with the police for prosecution over alleged obtaining by false pretense and related offenses. Police say investigations are continuing to establish the full extent of the alleged operation and identify others who may be involved. Also in Ogun State, the police have arrested a man accused of using religion as a cover to defraud members of his fellowship. The Ogun State Police Command has arrested Kehinde Makinde, popularly known as Pastor Kenny in Ibadan, Oyo State. The police allege that Makinde obtained about 2.5 million naira from 18 fellowship members in Saje Adata. He is accused of telling the victims that he was organizing a government-sponsored pilgrimage to Jerusalem and promising each participant 2 million naira. The police also alleged that the suspect had been manipulating people under the guise of spiritual deliverances across Ogun, Oyo, and Osun State. His arrest followed 4 months of surveillance and investigation. The police say efforts are ongoing to identify additional victims and arrest possible accomplices. And in Borno State, the EFCC has also arrested a man accused of impersonating one of its officers. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has arrested Nuhu Dahiru in Majuguri for allegedly impersonating an EFCC official and obtaining 3 million naira by false pretense. The suspect was arrested at Tasan Bama along the Bama Road following intelligence received by the commission. The EFCC says Dahiru had allegedly been parading himself as one of its officers and using the identity to defraud unsuspecting members of the public. The commission says 3 million naira was recovered from him during the arrest. He is expected to be charged to court after investigations are completed. Meanwhile, police in Ekiti State have uncovered another alleged fraud operation, this time involving ATM cards. Police in Ekiti have arrested 3 men suspected of belonging to an ATM card theft syndicate. The suspects were arrested after police received intelligence about their presence at the ATM gallery of Wema Bank's Okesa branch in Ado Ekiti. The suspects reportedly attempted to flee when the police arrived, but were intercepted in the Basiri area. A search led to the recovery of 16 ATM cards belonging to different banks and individuals. The police alleged that the suspects specialized in swapping ATM cards from unsuspecting customers and later using the cards to withdraw money from victims' accounts. The police say investigations will be intensified to identify other members of the alleged syndicate. Meanwhile, the Anambra State Independent Electoral Commission says it remains committed to conducting the state's local government elections on August 29th. The declaration comes despite a legal challenge by 57 serving councillors. The councillors are challenging the state's decisions to limit the tenure of elected local government officials to 2 years. They argue that their tenure should last 4 years and that the state law conflicts with the constitutional provision guaranteeing a democratically elected local government system. However, ANSIAC Chairman Genevieve Osakwe says the commission has received no court order directing it to stop preparations. He stressed that filing a lawsuit does not automatically suspend an electoral process. The commission has therefore urged political parties and candidates to continue their preparations for the August 29th election. And now to the economy, where new figures from the Debt Management Office show a mixed picture of borrowing and debt reduction amongst Nigerian states. 7 state governments and the Federal Capital Territory increased their domestic debt stocks by a combined 355.18 billion naira between December 2025 and March 2026. The affected governments are the FCT, Edo, Borno, Yobe, Benue, Kaduna, and Nasarawa states. The Federal Capital Territory recorded the largest increase, with its domestic debt rising from about 188.86 billion naira to 389.88 billion naira. That represents an increase of more than 201 billion naira. Edo State followed with an increase of about 81.19 billion, while Borno added approximately 45.8 billion naira. Yobe's debt increased by 17.6 billion, while Benue, Kaduna, and Nasarawa also recorded increases. However, the figures do not necessarily mean all 7 governments contracted new loans during the period. The Debt Management Office explains that an increase in debt stock may result from fresh borrowing, drawdowns, and existing facilities, or changes in outstanding obligations. Overall, the combined domestic debt of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory rose from 4.36 trillion naira to 4.52 trillion naira, representing a net increase of 163.25 billion naira. Interestingly, 29 states recorded reductions in their domestic debt during the same period. Delta State, for example, reduced its debt by nearly 35 billion naira, while Enugu recorded a reduction of more than 37 billion naira. Lagos also reduced its debt by about 14.4 billion naira, but remained the most indebted state with approximately 1.2 trillion in domestic debt. The debt movement comes despite increased allocations to state from the federal account. Economists are saying that borrowing itself is not necessarily the problem, but the key concern is how borrowed funds are utilized and whether they generate economic value. Moving away from domestic economic affairs, the United States has clarified the implications of changes to its visa processing arrangements in Nigeria. The United States mission in Nigeria says the realignment of routine visa processing will not affect the operational status of the U.S. Embassy in Abuja. The clarification follows a U.S. Department of State announcement that routine visa services in Abuja would be realigned to a regional visa hub from August 1st. The U.S. mission says the change affects routine visa processing only and does not mean the embassy is closing. The State Department says the wider realignment is aimed at strengthening national security, improving efficiency, and promoting more uniform screening and vetting standards. The embassy will continue its other diplomatic and consular responsibilities. From international affairs, we now turn to sports, where Nigerian football is facing renewed debate over administration and the future of the game. Football stakeholders remain divided over calls to suspend the Nigerian Football Federation's 2026 elections. The elections are currently scheduled for September 27 in Lafia, Nasarawa State. The debate follows Nigeria's recent setbacks in international football. The Super Falcons were eliminated from the Women's Africa Cup of Nations by Cameroon, missing automatic qualification for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup. The Flying Eagles also suffered a 4-1 defeat to Burkina Faso in the WAFU Zone B on the 20 Championship final, missing out on qualification for the 2027 Under 20 World Cup. Former Super Eagles captain Segun Odegbamis has called for the NFF elections to be temporarily suspended and for the football administration system to be reformed. Some stakeholders argue that the current electoral structure gives state football association chairmen significant influence and may make it difficult to reform-minded candidates to compete. However, others have rejected the call to halt the elections, arguing that reforms can be pursued without stopping the electoral process. The debate is expected to continue ahead of the September election. Now, staying with football and moving to Turkey, an Egyptian superstar has reportedly moved into a home with a familiar Nigerian connection. Egyptian football star Mohamed Salah has moved into the same property previously occupied by former Super Eagles striker Anthony Nwakem Eme, following his move to Turkish club Trabzonspor. Trabzonspor president Jogan confirmed that the club had arranged several houses for its players and that Salah's current residence was previously used by Nwakeme. Salah's arrival is also being viewed as a potential boost for Nigerian striker Paul Onuachu. Former Trabzonspor forward Emre Gural believes Salah's presence could create more space for Onuachu because opposing defenders will have to pay close attention to the Egyptian star. Onuachu finished last season as joint top scorer in the Turkish Super League with 22 goals. Finally, this morning, we move to entertainment, beginning with a major development in one of the most famous unsolved murders in music history. The trial of former gang leader Duane Kefe D. Davis, who is accused of orchestrating the murder of rapper Tupac Shakur, has begun in the United States. The proceedings started Monday with jury selection, nearly 30 years after Shakur was shot in a drive-by attack in Las Vegas. The rapper died at the age of 25 after being shot on September 7, 1996, following a Mike Tyson boxing match. Prosecutors allege that Davis ordered the killing and provided the gun used in the attack. Davis has pleaded not guilty and denies killing anyone. The case remained unsolved for decades before investigators revived it following revelations contained in Davis's 2019 memoir. Davis had admitted that he was in the car involved in the shooting and said he handed a pistol to someone in the back seat, although he did not identify who fired the shots. He was arrested September 2023. The trial is expected to last about a month, and Davis could face life imprisonment without parole if convicted. Now, from a legendary figure whose story has remained in the headlines for decades, we now move to a new Nigerian film expected to make headlines this year. Nigerian actress and filmmaker Olufunke Akindele is set to return to cinemas with her latest film, The Fall, No One Fights Alone. The movie is scheduled for global cinema release on December 11, 2026. The film explores friendship, motherhood, resilience, sacrifice, and the bond between women. It features an ensemble cast, including Funke Akindele, Bisola Ayola, Fioma Akpotha, Richard Mufedamijo, Timini Egusin, Lateef Adedimeji, Ali Nuhu, and Wumi Toriola. The production also features singer Waje and Afrobeat artist Shode. Funke Akindele wrote, directed, and produced the film. She says the story was created to entertain audiences while reflecting familiar Nigerian experiences and relationships. And finally, on entertainment, Nollywood actress Nkechi Blessing Sunday has spoken out against a growing trend on social media. The actress has cautioned social media users against shaming women over their marital or childbearing status. In a social media post, the actress urged people to remember that they may not know the private battles others are facing. She also warned women seeking marriage, children, or other personal blessings to be cautious of what she described as fake prophecy. The actress encouraged people to exercise sensitivity rather than judging others based on their relationship or family status. Before we go, let's take a look at the weather forecast for today's weather according to NIMET. The Nigerian Meteorological Agency forecasts cloudy conditions with chances of thunderstorms and rainfall across several parts of the country today. In the north, moderate rainfall and thunderstorms are expected in parts of Adamawa, Taraba, Bauchi, Jigawa, Kaduna, Zamfara, Kebbi, and Borno. Across the central region, parts of Plateau, Niger, Kogi may experience light rain and thunderstorms in the morning, with moderate rainfall expected later. In the south, cloudy skies and light morning rain are expected in parts of Enugu, Ebonyi, Imo, Abia, Delta, Rivers, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River states. Moderate rainfall is expected across parts of the southeast, south, and southwest later in the day. NIMET advises residents to take caution around loaded roads and during thunderstorms as strong winds may occur. And that wraps it up for today's SRTV Morning News. This morning we brought you developments from politics, security, the economy, international affairs, sports, and entertainment. Remember, preparations are intensifying ahead of the Saturday's Osun State governorship election, while political parties are already positioning themselves for the 2027 general elections. Thank you for joining us this morning. Coming up at 10 a.m. is State of the Nation with Daddy Chris. Stay tuned. I'm Obaun Gable Joy. Have a productive Tuesday, and thank you for watching SRTV.